A potential escalation. Syrian Americans living in San Diego react to news that the U.S. is considering new strikes. Plus, why a Marine who won a legal fight against hazing in the Corps might still be pushed out of the military.
Deported or not, we will always be United States veterans. We are all Americans, and I'm here today as American citizens.
Citizenship granted, a triumphant day for a veteran who was deported to Mexico and waited 14 years to return home. This is one of the biggest weekends of the year for the music industry. We'll tell you which San Diego artists will be playing at Coachella. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Kenny Goldberg. Hector Barajas was deported even though he served in the U.S. Army. Today, after years of trying to convince the government to let him return, he was allowed back in and became the first deported veteran to gain U.S. citizenship. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero has the story.
I'm here in front of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services in downtown San Diego, where Hector Barajas just spoke. Barajas was greeted by dozens of supporters as he walked out of U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. He'd just been sworn in as a U.S. citizen.
The citizenship only validates what I've always felt in my heart. I'm an all-American patriot.
Non-U.S. citizens who joined the military with their green cards can be deported after their service if they commit crimes. Activists have identified at least 300 deported veterans. Barajas was one of them.
I'm actually on my way about 5-10 minutes away from the office, downtown San Diego.
Today, less than half an hour before he became a citizen, Barajas was let back into the country that deported him in 2004 for shooting at an occupied car. He had served 6 years in the U.S. Army.
Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you today for the opportunity to be home with my family, and please continue to guide me so I can move forward and be a better man.
Barajas says he's not proud of what he did, but is proud of his service and what he's doing today, helping others in his position through the Deported Veterans Support House he created in Tijuana. He says he plans to continue working there for another year.
My dream is to put my daughter through college, find a job, continue to help others, maybe go to college. But my biggest dream is to see all my brothers and sisters go home to the country that they're willing to die for.
Barajas was allowed to return to the U.S. after receiving a pardon for his crime from Governor Jerry Brown last year. Nathan Fletcher is a Marine Corps combat veteran who led the effort to bring Barajas home. He founded a group called Honorably Discharged, Dishonorably Deported. He says Barajas' return and citizenship shows what's possible.
We have a Trump administration that's driving a very dark and angry approach towards immigration. And here you have a California approach with Governor Jerry Brown leading the way, and I think there's a stark contrast between the two.
He says he hopes the California approach wins out. Barajas says the first thing he wants to do as a U.S. citizen is register to vote. From downtown San Diego, Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
America's ambassador to the United Nations says a final decision has not been made on how to proceed in Syria. Nikki Haley slammed Russia, an ally of Syria, during an emergency meeting of the UN Security Council. Russia's defense ministry claims a recent attack on a Damascus suburb was staged by Britain.
I started to listen to my Russian friend and respond. But instead, I'm in awe, Vasily, of how you say what you say with a straight face. I really, really am. Our president has not yet made a decision about possible actions in Syria. But should the United States and our allies decide to act in Syria, it will be in defense of a principle on which we all agree. It will be in defense of a bedrock international norm that benefits all nations.
Russia has repeatedly used its veto power at the United Nations to block investigations into chemical weapons in Syria. Ambassador Haley says the Syrian government has carried out at least 50 such attacks. Syrians in San Diego are closely monitoring whether the latest alleged chemical weapons attack in their homeland will lead to a U.S. missile strike. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy visited a Syrian restaurant in El Cajon, where customers voiced their concerns.
Abed Kato owns the eatery Suri that draws nearly 100 mostly Syrian refugee customers every day. He says worry is high and hopes are dim as they cope with yet another suspected chemical attack on their loved ones.
And people are dying right and left, and nobody cares to stop this slaughter.
Kato lived in Damascus for 21 years before moving to San Diego and becoming a U.S. citizen. The longtime advocate wants the U.S. to do more than a missile strike. He says his brothers and other family members in Syria are desperate for a safe zone,
where no bombs, no missiles, no chemical warfare can reach them. Establish a safe zone. You don't need to bring troops into Syria, but at least establish a safe zone by stopping these airplanes from indiscriminately hitting civilians.
He says whatever happens, he'll continue to offer Syrians who come to his restaurant the taste and comfort from home. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
The Marine who won a ruling in a major West Coast hazing case now faces being kicked out of the Marine Corps. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh has that story.
In February, a military appeals court judge threw out the case against Sergeant Jamie Ortiz, an engineer at Camp Pendleton. The judge admonished Major General Eric Smith of the 1st Marine Division, saying the case had become personal. The commander ordered a crackdown on hazing that swept up 30 Marines. The Marines confirmed Ortiz has been notified that he now faces separation from the Marine Corps. His civilian attorney, Aaron Myers, says that in an email that he is filing paperwork to stop Ortiz from being discharged. He says the Corps is trying to save face. Ortiz has a spotless record, and the effort to discharge him is based on revenge. Because Ortiz is just shy of 6 years in the Corps, he is not explicitly entitled to a hearing. His command also continues to restrict his movements. Marine spokesman Lieutenant Paul Gainey said the judge's ruling does not preclude the Marine Corps from further administrative action. The decision to discharge him was based on an investigation report. 18 of the Marines caught up in the hazing probe have been discharged from the Marine Corps. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
President Donald Trump has granted a full pardon to Scooter Libby. He's a former top aide to Vice President Dick Cheney, who was convicted of lying to investigators and obstruction of justice after a covert CIA officer's identity was leaked in 2003. Former President George W. Bush commuted a 30-month prison sentence. After granting a full pardon, President Trump said today, "For years, I have heard that he has been treated unfairly. Hopefully, this full pardon will help rectify a very sad portion of his life." A $500 million deal that will bring new ownership to the San Diego Union Tribune is expected to close on Monday. Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong not only bought San Diego's major newspaper, but also the LA Times and several smaller publications. Soon-Shiong says he envisions a multi-general family ownership of the newspapers. Soon-Shiong is a multi-billionaire who made his fortune as a physician and biotech entrepreneur. The San Ysidro School District just hired its 9th superintendent in the last 5 years. The school board voted unanimously last night to hire a Lemon Grove educator to head the troubled district. iNewsSource reporter Leonardo Castañeda has details.
Gina Potter will bring nearly 3 decades of experience as an educator to the San Ysidro district. She spent the past 16 years at the Lemon Grove School District, first as a principal and most recently as deputy superintendent. In selecting her, school board members noted her community roots. Potter grew up in Imperial Beach and graduated from Chula Vista High School. Both of her parents are retired South Bay educators. Potter takes the top spot in San Ysidro after months of turmoil following the abrupt resignation in September of Superintendent Julio Fonseca amid allegations of financial misdeeds. Potter says she embraces the challenges ahead.
The sky is the limit for the amount of stability and success that we together will bring as a community of staff and parents and leaders.
Despite her optimism, Potter will soon have to deal with the results of a state audit into payments made to Fonseca and his former deputy. Board members are also expecting her to address San Ysidro's nearly $1 million budget deficit. For KPBS, I'm iNewsSource reporter Leonardo Castañeda.
iNewsSource is an independently funded nonprofit partner of KPBS. A plan to expand early education in California has cleared a state Senate committee. The bill would offer transitional kindergarten to all 4-year-old children in public schools. Currently, TK is only offered to students who turn 5 years old between September and December. If the bill becomes law, TK expansion would be phased in by 2020. Students who want to attend a UC school will be guaranteed a spot under a new policy adopted by California's community colleges. The UC system will admit students who meet certain course requirements in classes developed by UC faculty. The new policy is for students who begin community college in the fall of 2019. The UC system will not guarantee admission to students' first choice of campuses. Many Californians will be working on their taxes this weekend. The deadline is Tuesday, and the state tax office in Sacramento is processing 18 million filings this year. Dana Beards has a look behind the scenes and some tips on how to get your refund faster.
The office space where your state tax forms are processed may look dated, but what has changed here in recent years is the volume of paper processed here each year. 90% of Californians file state taxes electronically. But even with that reduction, workers here will still handle more than 2 million pieces of mail from the beginning to the end of tax season. Due to electronic filing and other advances in technology, the processing center workforce is about half what it used to be. The state prefers that you file electronically, not just because it's easier, but because your information is more secure, easier to track, and if you're due a refund, you'll get it faster.
When you file electronically, you'll usually see your refund within 3 weeks. If you file by paper, it could be upwards of a month and beyond.
If you're using the mail to file a tax return by paper, there's one simple thing you can do to make sure you get your refund faster. Don't use staples or paper clips on any of your tax forms or supporting documents. Every document mailed to the Franchise Tax Board is now stored electronically. 8,000 pieces of paper per hour are scanned through this high-speed machine. Staples and paper clips slow the process because they have to be removed by hand. One other tip before tax deadline, if your income is below $22,300, be sure to file a return, or you could miss out on substantial money in earned income credits.
We're really urging everyone to turn in their tax forms this year because of the federal earned income tax credit as well as the California earned income tax credit. They could be getting a couple $1,000s back.
Between state and federal returns, those credits could be up to $6,000, depending on the size of your family. In Sacramento, Dana Beards reporting.
Governor Brown puts restrictions on the president's request for border troops. Confusion over the sheriff's policies and practices regarding pregnant inmates and jail deaths. And the city's purchase of a skydiving building as a homeless hub draws critics' fire. Join us for the KPBS Roundtable tonight at 8:30.
The federal government is going to take a closer look at the money being spent on California's high-speed rail project. California Congressman Jeff Dunham has asked the Department of Transportation to do an audit. Dunham is a Republican from the San Joaquin Valley. He's been critical of the multi-billion-dollar project. The trains will move people between LA and the Bay Area. Auditors will examine if the federal money used to help pay for construction has followed the rules. The White House today said President Trump has directed the Justice Department to abandon its crackdown on recreational marijuana. The move could allow cannabis businesses in California to operate without fear of federal raids and prosecution. The decision reverses a policy supported by U.S. Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Recreational use of marijuana is legal in California and in 7 other states. The Coachella Valley Music and Arts Festival is underway, and a musician who performed 25 shows in 24 hours. KPBS Arts Calendar editor Nina Guerin has a look at what's happening this weekend.
In 2015, San Diego musician John Foreman had the idea to perform 25 shows in 24 hours. You might remember Foreman as the frontman to the pop band Switchfoot, but he's also got a solo music career of his own.
This is stop 2 of 25 shows in 24 hours. This is show number 15. No yawning. Stop.
25 and 24 project, he performed at places like a Mexican restaurant, a children's hospital, and even a wedding. That whirlwind journey was filmed and is being released as a documentary that will be screened on Saturday. After the movie, Foreman will perform live with an acoustic trio. The Coachella Music and Arts Festival kicks off this weekend in Indio, but you don't have to travel to the desert to see some of the festival headliners. Many bands also perform in San Diego on their way to or from the festival, and one of those bands is Fleet Foxes. If you haven't heard of this indie folk group, they've been compared to Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, thanks to thoughtful lyrics and complex harmonies. At Coachella, Fleet Foxes plays just before Beyoncé, but in San Diego, you can see them at the more mellow Humphreys Concerts by the Bay with special guests Amen Dunes. Finally, there's San Diego Dance Theater's Live Arts Festival, a celebration of contemporary and modern dance. The 10-day festival begins this weekend with some truly creative shows. Tonight's Coop features 22 dancers who realize they're all stuck in the same place. And tomorrow is an alumni show with choreography by local dance mainstays. The Live Arts Festival brings a different dance performance to Liberty Station every night through April 22nd. You can find the full schedule at kpbs.org/arts. For KPBS Arts, I'm Nina Guerin.
Ready Player One. Video game fans hope to score big with the booming esports industry. From the PBS NewsHour's Student Reporting Lab, Ty Kulowski from Itiwana High in Rancho Cucamonga introduces us to one man's mission to become a professional gamer.
Until his sophomore year, Ahad Akbar was a student at Etiwanda High School in San Bernardino County. He graduated early because he wanted to be a professional video gamer. Now 18 and 2 years out of school, he's still attempting to make it in this industry. He's best known for playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive, a video game that's part of many global tournaments. He believes that video games are creating jobs of the future.
So when I was like, I don't know, maybe 9 or 10, I used to just play Call of Duty and Halo all the time. By the time I hit 12, I used to play Call of Duty more seriously. I used to just, be decent at it. So I had a YouTube channel. I had like 13,000 or 14,000 subscribers. But yeah, that kind of really started my whole gaming thing. It was just like, man, there's money in gaming.
In 2016, the gaming industry generated $91 billion, with more than 2,400 gaming companies supplying over 220,000 jobs. These jobs range from developers and producers to game testers. Mike Aransky is a senior content producer at IGN, a game review company that started in 1996.
I think it's amazing where gaming has got to this point. It's as big as movies, it's as big as sports, it's as big as any kind of entertainment value out there. I wouldn't have a job if it wasn't for something like this.
Gamers can also make money by streaming or playing video games on a live stream while fans watch. One popular streaming platform is Twitch, which is preferred by gamers like Ahad and Charles Clapper, a member of the professional gaming clan FaZe.
Me, I'm a competitive player at this point. If I were to count how many hours I have in the game, it'd be, 6,000, 7,000 of like non-idle hours of me just playing the game and trying to get better.
It's not an easy industry to crack though. Only about 500 gamers of the million streaming make a living at it, according to a study by Schmoop. And of the gamers that do make it, few are able to hold on, as 2 or 3 off games can result in a player getting removed from a team. In the end, Ahad has only made $12,000 over the span of 7 years from gaming and streaming. However, he still believes his break is right around the corner.
Gaming is just something that I have an interest in, a big interest in. Professional gamers for Counter-Strike, they have noticed me as a player, as a streamer, and they want to see me succeed in that bracket. So this barrier of casual to professional gamer is something I definitely know I can break, and it is a goal of mine.
For KPBS, I'm Ty Kozlowski from Etiwanda High School in Rancho Cucamonga.
Got it.
This story comes to us from the PBS NewsHour Student Reporting Lab. It's a program designed to engage students in journalism and public media. Strong winds in the mountains and deserts have calmed down, and we're expecting a warm weekend in San Diego with high temperatures in the 80s. Justin Povic has details in tonight's forecast.
Well, as we look ahead, we look towards some warmer temperatures. The flow turning weaker over the course of the next 12 hours. What does that mean? The winds will be calming down. Still a little breezy throughout some of the mountainous terrain in the deserts here in the short term. Like I talked about the temperatures already, but some changes in store as we venture into next week. I want to show you the satellite radar. I'll step out of the way here briefly and notice again it is quiet again from Poway to Ramona, Oceanside, southbound to La Jolla, San Diego. Not talking about any precipitation, really a lack of cloud cover for that matter, all throughout the area and regionally as well, as we have all the storminess well off to the north of Interstate 80. So let's venture right into the overnight here, shall we? 58 degrees, a starlit sky. Again, the wind will be calming down. And notice we fall off into the low 50s around Borrego Springs. Mount Laguna down to 39. Another windy spot the last couple of days. Alpine falls off to 46. And a beautiful day here as we venture into the weekend. So some good timing, right? How warm are we going to be? Well, keep in mind we typically should be around 66, 67. But check this out. San Diego 80. How does that sound for the start of the weekend? Oceanside 79. Chula Vista into the upper 70s. Mount Laguna, of course, the higher terrain here cooler. But look at Borrego Springs 88. For the afternoon hours. Of course, we could use some rain. Not in the cards here over the next several days. It's been a dry month. Out at the coast, we switched the flow on shore, and that cools us off come Monday. Lots of sunshine, though, as we venture on into midweek. And same situation inland. The next 2 days abnormally warm. And then we start to cool things back off Monday into Tuesday, along with, again, some clearing skies. It will start off partly sunny. Again, Monday morning and end partly sunny on Sunday. Mountainous terrain also cooling off, but it's a dry go. But here throughout the duration of the period right into Wednesday, we start to see some rebounding temperatures at that point. And a weak area of low pressure is going to be cooling us off all the way into the desert locations. Notice the 70s returning as we venture into Monday. But again, over the next several days, one thing in common for all regions is it will be dry. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Justin Povick. Back over to you.
Actor Will Ferrell is recovering from minor injuries after a late-night car accident. The SUV he was riding in was involved in a rollover crash Thursday night after leaving an event in Oceanside. The California Highway Patrol says the crash happened on Interstate 5 in the Mission Viejo area just before 11 p.m. Ferrell was taken to a hospital for evaluation. Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger is providing an update on his health just a couple of weeks after undergoing open-heart surgery.
Hello, everybody. Just wanted to let you know that thank you so much for all your wishes and for all the cards and the phone calls and the emails and the texts and all this kind of stuff that I got from around the world. I really appreciate that very much. And you're very kind. But I just want you to know that I'm feeling much better. I can't say, even with my positive attitude, that I'm great, because I'm not great yet. Great is a totally different level. But I'm good. I feel good. I get good care, good doctors, everything, good nurses, everything is fantastic. So anyway, I'm here on the chessboard, playing a little bit chess here to freshen my mind and my memory a little bit. And we move forward. So I will stay in touch with all of you. And thank you all for being such jewels.
Schwarzenegger posted the video to Twitter with the caption, "Thank you all for caring. We are moving forward." He's 70 years old. Doctors replaced a heart valve in the former governor on March 29th. Schwarzenegger has a congenital heart defect and had a similar procedure done in 1997. KPBS cinema junkie Beth Accomando says you have a week of classics as well as a trio of giant monsters to look forward to this weekend.
10 classics get off to a fast start this Friday with Bullet. Steve McQueen, the man who epitomized cool in the 60s, gets behind the wheel for one of the best car chases ever filmed. The 60s are also represented by A Hard Day's Night, featuring the Beatles' film debut.
Tell me, how did you find America? Turn left to Greenland.
King of Hearts with Alan Bates hiding out in a French insane asylum during World War I.
I'm the king of the fools!
Belle de Jour showcasing the perfect beauty of Catherine Deneuve. And Dr. Zhivago mixing romance and the Russian Revolution. Also worth checking out are the noir classic Laura and the epic melodrama of Douglas Sirk's Written on the Wind. It's another week of classics to savor at the Ken Cinema.
There's only so much a woman can do, and no more. I speak from personal experience with you.
The film version of Midway Games' Rampage isn't much like the 80s video game, but it does tap into the kaiju-inspired source to deliver what the 12-year-old in me craves. Crazy big monsters destroying everything in their path.
Of course, the wolf flies.
Rampage is the closest any American movie has ever come to capturing the feel of a Japanese kaiju or giant monster movie. These monsters can't be stopped by mere man or any of his silly weapons. Only another monster, like a Godzilla or a Mothra, can possibly save Earth. In this case, we get a giant ape and the human version of kaiju, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, fighting for the planet. This isn't great filmmaking, but it's way more fun than it has any right to be. Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. Have a great evening.